Howdy, howdy, folks, and welcome to Moose Podcast number 408, the 5 Ps. Proper preparation prevents poor photographs. Yes, this is truly the correct number 408. Last week I said number 408 when it was really 407, but this is actually the real 408. So don't be fooled by last week's number 408, which was really number 407. How you folks been this week? Not sure if you heard with all going on in the world, but we had a little event here in Western Montana last Wednesday that it blew through, and I posted one little picture that went through the sapphires where I'm at. And it seems as the storm went north, it intensified. And while it only lasted minutes, boy, the mayhem it wrecked on Missoula. Wow. So I hope that you're safe where you're at, and I do appreciate whatever's going on in your life, taking the few minutes you do to stop by and listen. I'm grateful, and for that reason, I try to do the best I can every week to help you move your photography forward. Speaking of that, I've got a whole lot of presentations, many of them in person coming up, like Tucson in September and Portland, Oregon in November. And I'm going to be there talking. They've got me going for a number of hours, which is going to be a lot of fun about critters and all that good stuff that is photography. So I hope you'll watch the website as the PR for these events comes available, and I post it, and you come by and say hello. I'd be really grateful. Hey, a number of people have been asking about the transcript. The best one is the one that you'll find on Spotify. Again was talking to the Adobe Beta group, and the problem is with theirs is that it looks great on the screen, but as soon as you save it, it's just one big giant paragraph. And so the one on Spotify is not that way, and it's a much easier, much more accurate transcript. So the link for that would be on the podcast blog post if you don't already have it marked on Spotify. So just wanted to make sure those people who want the transcript, they know where they can find the best copy. Speaking of the best, Bedford's Camera, bedfords.com. Yeah, those guys. Hey, they just do an amazing job of just like the Z6 III. They got a ton of them. They got them out. They take care of your questions, your service, the gear you need. And of course, they're the home of the Moose discount. After you check out, you'll see that serious savings right back again. So stop on by, give them a click, give them a call. They're there to help. They're there to solve whatever photographic issues you have. They can, and do it with the greatest of service and a big smile. Bedfords.com. Thanks for sponsoring the Moose Podcast. Well, getting into this week's topic, the 5 Ps. Yeah, I did a little twist on it, but it's basically the same thing. Proper preparation prevents poor photographs. Yes, I realize that's easier said than done, but stick with me. I'm going to illustrate the points. I think they'll help you. So back in 2020, I really wanted to work with C-47s, DC-3, especially, when it came to the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landing over in France. For a lot of circumstances, it just didn't unfold. We didn't get to go, and that yearning to work with that, what they call the Goonie or the Sky Train, or many different variations of the DC-3 C-47. Even though I didn't get to do that grand adventure, I still really, those planes are just cool. And having spent so much time with one that it was called Hit and Miss, I fell for it. Well, since 2020, I've been working towards working with one that I had no association with. No, I was just like anybody else, any other photographer trying to, break into a scenario with a plane, and it's taken literally this coming week, fingers crossed, knock on wood, if the stars all align, I'll actually get to work on this opportunity that we started on in 2020. That's 4 years. Okay, 4 years. So proper preparation prevents poor photographs. So have I been preparing for 4 years for this opportunity? Actually, no, much longer. And that's one of the first main points. Proper preparation. You could really slice and dice that a lot of ways. A lot of people do. And that is in itself one of your first biggest challenges. How do you prepare properly for your photographs? And that's the caveat that's really hard to just lasso on and bring down to heart. So your photographs, what are you doing to prepare for your opportunities? Most work that 9 to 5 job. That really does make things a challenge, doesn't it? I mean, it makes it a little bit more difficult. Now, the number one way that I still recommend to folks, and it came up this week, the funniest way through LinkedIn, is that proper preparation. Another word for it in my mind is research. Before I ever get to where the camera is up to my eye, I am doing research. So to put it into context, for the event that I'm hoping, and I'm not saying it because I don't want to jinx myself. I'm old fashioned. I think about that. But for I'm hoping it's going to come up here in this next week, I went out and got not one, not two, but 3 books. 3 books. And these are helping me prepare. Now, how do books, and all 3 of these, none of them have nothing to do with photography. They're all basically historic and anecdotal stories, kind of reading. How does that help me, and how could it help you prepare? Well, it goes back to, as far as I'm concerned, the when we first started learning to write, and our teacher said to write something about something, you have to know that subject. Well, I feel that way about photography. That's how you properly prepare to be ready for it. A quick, simple example: if you are about to go out and photograph birds, you would do some preparation and know that 14 to 24 zoom probably won't be your prime lens for photographing birds in flight, for example. And if you're heading to an air show, and you want to be on the flight line getting those flight shots, getting a fisheye lens on your camera might not be the first choice that you want to make. This is just simple, really, of course, kind of ludicrous ways of showing about how proper preparation can make a huge difference and prevents poor photographs. Now, so reading, and for this case, doing the homework. The other thing that it has helped me do is decide where I want to be in relation to the subject with what background I want behind it. And not to start this bugaboo, but everybody worries about composition. But if you think about it, composition deals with one aspect, one point, one element of the photograph. Where should the subject be? So then my question is, what about the rest of the frame? Okay, you put the subject in the best spot, but what about the rest of the story? Okay, so in proper preparation, I want to know where I want to be, where I want the subject to be, and what the background will be at that point in time. And of course, this isn't a real is this kind of pie in the sky stuff, because the real world might not have control of any of those things except for where I'm at, and even that could be iffy. So proper preparation by doing some basic research, be it via the web, a book, talking with others who've done it, that starts and helps prevent poor photographs. Now, prevents. Does it mean exclude or make impossible? No. You could do a ton of preparation. You could have all the information that and be on overload and have the right places, light, f-stop, shutter speed, camera gear, and still go down in flames. And there's a gazillion reasons that could happen, and all those could be totally out of your control. And that's a big part of the photographic process. But and this is an important thing that grasp on here. When things go to hell in a handbasket, the more you properly prepare, the better you are to make lemonade from those scenarios. I mean, that you think about lemonade is what? It is a recipe. So if you are served lemons, right, and you have a lemonade recipe, then you can sometimes take out certain elements and replace them with others and still come out with lemonade, even though you've been served lemons. Well, that's one of the big things about proper preparation prevents poor photographs, because that proper preparation gives you possibilities, avenues in which you can turn, grab a different lens, try different lighting, move the subject, change the story. A myriad of different possibilities in which you could prevent poor photographs. But now we get to that word poor. You know, 5 P's, right? It sticks in your head, and it fits the thing. But poor photographs. If you are doing proper preparation, the possibilities of getting a poor photograph get really slim, and that's kind of the main precept, right? But then you have to ask yourself, what is the definition of a poor photograph? If you're just starting out, and this is kind of another thing came from LinkedIn this week, which kind of cracked me up. If you are just starting out, what are the possibilities that even if you've done all the proper preparation, you're going to have the opposite of a poor photograph? You're going to have a rich photograph. Well, you just started out. I mean, as in you just started out. The odds are, and it's just the way life is, that even though you're going to do the best you can for that point in time in your photography, it might not be the best, especially when you measure it from a year later or 5 years later. So that proper preparation prevents poor photographs is, in all honesty, kind of a snapshot in time, the timeline of your being a visual storyteller, communicator, orator. You're out there making those images happen because they're, proper preparation. If we were to expand that, we would have to take in things like light and f-stop and shutter speed and camera gear and hand holding. And oh man, just this huge corral of what it is to be a photographer, just to go in that first part to prevent poor photographs. But if you're just starting out, have you got the chance to have a gear locker with enough tools to solve every problem? Have you had an opportunity to practice hand holding every day? You're just starting out. You're just starting out. So just like anything in photography, just because we have a cute little catchphrase, proper preparation prevents poor photographs, or the other, 1,000 of them, doesn't necessarily mean that if you follow them, that you'll instantly taste success. Because, right, there's a whole nother thing we have to think about. What is that? What is that? So when you break down those 5 T's, we've talked 5 P's as in Papa. Proper preparation prevents poor photographs. Look at that very last word, photographs. We know in essence it means write with light. So right off the bat, does proper preparation prevent poor writing with light? No, it don't. Because light is this lifelong quest. So if that's the case, why am I talking about the 5 P's? Well, if you're anything like me, little things like the 5 P's, if you kind of have that in your mind, it kind of gives you a little bit of a roadmap. We're not talking about using Woz or Google Maps. I'm talking about basic old days where you had this thing you'd pull out in your lap And you know you want to get from this point to that point, and then you have all these options in which to get there. You got the fast, you got the scenic, you've got the ones with the more great food, the one with more gas, whatever that, you have a number of options in which to get to that end point. 5Ps is just like that. It's just another possible option you can use and think about to get your photography moving forward. Because there is no end game in this, and that's probably the best part about photography. There is no end game. It's always going to be evolving. And the main reason is because of you. You're evolving. The way you tell stories evolves. And that's the beauty. That's why we're here talking again on this episode about you and your photography. Move it forward. You will always be ahead of the 5Ps. You folks have a marvelous week. And remember to make every click your story.